Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Season 5, Round 8. It is halfway through the SSRL season, the possibly final one on F1 24. It is great to have you along with us. We also have a special regular co-commentator in the commentary box today, but I'll get round to them in just a second. But of course, I've just alluded to, halfway through the season in Season 5. We are, of course, going to Monza for the second full qualifying session of this season. Then, of course, our next one will be in about 5 weeks' time in Suzuka. But, of course, after today, it is a 1 week break, even I should say, before we return to Australia for Round 8 on the 17th and 18th of March. Then, obviously, to China, Bahrain, and Suzuka. Then another week's break to our final leg of the season in Saudi Arabia, Netherlands, Miami, and of course, Britain in Silverstone. As driver standings, well, we have to now split them into 2 parts because, well, we've had 30 drivers take part in this amazing Season 5. So Andy RJ extending his lead after taking 6 wins in a row. It is 73 points. He leads by his fellow son, who of course took their second place away from Danger David, who failed to actually finish the last race, and Moksha having a terrible 3 races, 7th place in the last race, and non-finishes in rounds 5 and 6. He'll be looking to bounce back very shortly. Pleasant Snake, though, is putting the pressure on Moksha. He's in 5th. He's going to have to go in round of results himself. Energetic 12 points behind, but under pressure from the 2 Aston Martins behind, who actually took 7th and 8th last week, which have brought the Aston Martins into some constructors fights. Then it's Russia Siri and Kovachka, who's actually having a good season himself, despite him only being in 10th. We'll go through that later on in the broadcast. Then from 11th to 15th, it is Wouter, Flip, Quincy, Control, and Enzo. Then from 16th to 20th is UJ, Toby, Tarkancino, Daryl, and Falcor. Then from 21st to 25th, it is Race Chase, Sergeant Devsy, Evor, Ibo, and Rowley. And then your final 5 drivers is Trugster, Valentine, Bavish, Kwan, and Quank George. And in your constructor standings, well, Mercedes only got a 2-point increase over Sauber. It's now 55 points between the top 2. Sauber also only got a 2-point advantage, so the gap increases from Sauber to Alpine from 1 to 3 points, but Red Bull, with no finish at all, lose a lot of ground, and the Aston Martins having a double points finish gives them a bit of an advantage for 4th place as well. And then behind them, it is Williams and McLaren locked in a tight fight along with Haas, Ferrari, and the Racing Bulls. And if Bavish could just get a couple of results together, the Racing Bulls could find themselves out of last if things go well tonight. But now it's time to finally introduce my co-commentator for the evening, Herman the German. Warm welcome to you.
Thank you very much. Good evening, and welcome to tonight's full qualifying session.
Exactly, of course. So one thing we need to go through as well, 18-minute qualifying session followed by a 15-minute qualifying 2 session, and then of course 12 minutes to decide the top 10. So we will be saying goodbye on your left-hand side there to 20th and 16th. Now, UJ is serving a qualifying ban this week, so he will not take part in the session today. So there you go, he retires from the session. So that's already 1 place gone. And from 19th to 16th, Herman, who do you think is going to be in there just as a way, just to get things rolling?
Yeah, based on recent performances, I would say that Kwon, Devsy, and Falco Warrior might be the ones we are saying goodbye to in the first part of this qualifying session. Also, based on yesterday's performances, Takajino had a very good run, made it into Q3, still a very strong lineup in Division 1. And I think he's going to be strong. And as I said to you before, Rush Nasiri is going to be top of the timing sheets. Maybe at some stage, he was looking mighty fine yesterday, took the win over Danger David and Control, who took a reserve spot for Red Bull yesterday. So, yeah, I hope to see more of that today, please.
Absolutely, I would too. It sounds like you had a really good time in Division 1 last night. I'm sad to have missed it. But I was just under the weather with a headache, so I'm glad that's all cleared up for today. But as well, yeah, I was just alluding to Rush the Series. I was also looking back at Season 3, because that was the last time SSRL raced here before this week's events. And actually, it was Rush the Series taking 1st position, in the race, that is. Pole went to Danger David, who took a 1:21.689, but couldn't convert that into a win, let alone a podium. But that top three then was Rush the Series, Mr. Wouter, who is not with us this evening either, but more important, and also, of course, as we all know, Andy Andre could only manage third, but you actually managed an epic race. You started all the way back in the 16th, managed to get it up to 4th place, and you weren't that far away from the top three either. What was it like coming through the field, all those 12 places way back when, if you can remember?
Yeah, I remember that quite vividly because I messed up completely in terms of the setup overall for the weekend. I was later talking to Rush about how his wings and overall the setup philosophy was looking, and I realized as soon as he dropped the wings, I was quite high on downforce compared to the rest, and I think we gotten even lower after that over the year. We've been racing almost on this game already, and yeah, I have to say it was quite tough because when you can't make overtakes, you really have to go for these couple of corners you have basically. You can obviously brake a bit later and try to get people, opening up gaps maybe on the inside, especially into turn 1 and turn 4. So that was really just a way to look out to make sure that you stick with them. And that was obviously the most important thing to stick with in the DS train because based on raw pace, I couldn't afford to lose them. And obviously the part that is known as the second sector with Lesmos 1 and 2 and Ascari chicane basically already building the part of the third sector here. I was really fast in there and I could challenge these guys early on, and they only had the advantage of not burning so much EIS as I had to do, but I could manage to do so. And I think also pit stops on that way were quite phenomenal. I think there was also a podium in there, but I don't know if there was some sort of incident with someone, or just off the top of my head, I think there was a moment where maybe could have taken third or even the second there, but when the time ticked down in terms of the laps, there was not much I could do, but still, yeah, as you said, 12 positions gained is quite impressively. And with that result, I was still in the fight that we all know how that went down. So good race on that day, although it didn't come to fruition at the end.
I was just going to allude to that as well. Like, you know, of course, sadly, things were undone by the time we got to the final round, which I was in Saudi Arabia, if I remember that correctly. It was quite a fine finale to what was a really epic season, but I always kind of said that that was the race that saved your season, really. So you did an absolutely fantastic job, and it was an absolute pleasure to listen to all of that and, like, you know, just see how the prep was and just what your thoughts were like in the race. So that was actually really nice to hear. So thank you very much for sharing all of that with us. And now we are currently looking at Rush the Series, who actually retired from the session early on. Doesn't feel like a 1:19.3 puts him under any threat, and that would be a good little case there. Of course, we are yet to see times from certain drivers, Andy Andre being one of them, but on his outlap. And we're seeing a lot of invalidations through Ascari here, Variante Ascari. I was watching Kovachka last lap, and then I've been watching Flip this lap, and Flip's been a bit of a on and off driver for me. He's not quite found pace, but nor is he finding bad luck either. He's just sort of in between there. I can't quite get a gauge on him as of right now. What about you, Herman, when it comes to Flip?
Yeah, I think about 1 or 2 races ago, he said there was something not working for him, and I feel like there was maybe issue with setup also for Canada as well, where he didn't really seem to be there at the end. We had good performances throughout and started to obviously kind of gain and work on this kind of trust and some sort of prediction he had when he joined from Quincy. And we talked at length how he wasn't really there when he started the latter stages of season 4, and there was a disqualification for Fellison just now into turn number 2, and that's a big one, Dave. Holy shit.
Yes, it is. Apologies for the language there, but that is another one knocked out without really much ado about nothing, really. Fellow son for facing the wrong way in turn number 2. finds himself disqualified from the session. And as we look at, of course, battling for second place, Danger David as well, he goes up into second place with a 1:19.931 there. So Danger David, I don't think is going to find himself in any danger come towards the end of the session. But now we've got 2 out of the 5 places that need to be decided. Well, 2 of them are gone. There's just 3 of them up for grabs. So now we could be seeing a very big upset going in to qualifying 2, Herman.
Yeah, obviously, Fellison, probably one of the safest bet you can have inside of Division 1 and 2 as of right now is Kwon goes to P10. Very good lap early on in the session. I say early on, we are halfway through already, but sometimes Kwon wasn't looking like he was completing any competitive lap time at all. So currently in front of Tak and Gino, as I said before, was looking very strong yesterday. Let's see if he can repeat that. Currently out on track and is prepping a lap, I'm assuming right now. Not a lot of fuel still in there, it seems, and there's just a second out lap, which currently in the game helps you a lot with tire warm-up and overall performance. So I'm not surprised that he's going for a second run right now. His time currently of a 21.3 puts him in P11. Snake and Flip, I assume, will be beating both of these drivers I just talked about in any moment's time. Are still without the time, and also Kovačka is currently on a fast lap inside of the second sector, coming towards the split line for sector 2 and 3. And I would say that there's a huge opportunity now for at least another driver to jump into Q2 and have a better start. Obviously, a lot of things can be decided into turn 1 or on the way to turn 1 already here sometimes. So being inside of the midfield shuffle, let's say, is not always ideal, but if you have less cars in front of you that you could potentially crash into because of a pile-up, and that's always good. And Kovačka just puts himself in between the guys we were just talking about for P11 on the 21.2.
Kovačka with a bit of time to find in the second variante there, went very heavy on the brakes, locked up and lost his rear end. When we're looking at the Ferrari of Toby now, very different outcome there, but also not using all of the exit. And it's just very interesting to see where different drivers could find some time. And by the way, Andy Andre, in case if we missed this, 1:19.6 puts him into second place. Doesn't really need to come out again for another lap. They'll be safe there. At the moment, Daryl was talking about how his fastest time is a 1:18.7, and I'm just going to say for free, if that is not a misclick or an accidental type, that's still a pretty good time from Daryl. That could easily land him in the top 5. Currently is there with a 1:20.312, so maybe a couple of more seconds yet to find. Just looking at the tyres, it could be still some time to find for certain drivers. Barvish, by the way, set his banker lap on a set of intermediates that were 2 laps old, so he's definitely going to have more time to find. Keep an eye on him. He's at the bottom of the timing boards as of right now. Toby across the line, though, 0.5 on his personal best, but no positional improvement there. Both Ferrari drivers in a little bit of danger, I would say, Herman.
Yeah, certainly for right now, looking like they're going to be in trouble soon. Flip just invalidated his first attempt. He's going on a second just behind Snake right now. Cut the exit of Lesmo. One that was, and then it was validated. One thing I have to notice about what is happening in here right now is that I think if you look at how times have been set up as of right now, there's still lots of question marks around where currently P12 is with Falcor. So I don't really think that Kovačka is necessarily safe, because if some people can find something in their practice, and you have to say only 11 corners, very high speed track, you basically just go low wings and try to stay within the lines. That is obviously still very difficult to manage. I think he might be in for a big surprise. And just in addition to what you've been saying about Daryl's time, even 18.7 is his best time. Then he would have beaten the pole from yesterday, because that was a 19.0. Not so sure if that is not a typo, as Pleasant Snake goes to P6.
And also Bavish with an excellent lap up into third place. I was watching him, but there you go, as you say as well, Pleasant Stake was one of the drivers not to set a lap before the 6-minute mark, has now done that. Up into 6th place he goes, and now all attention draws to the drop zone, and Kvachka is in there. He is out, so that means it is up to Toby and Sergeant Devsy to find a time in the dying few minutes of qualifying. Devsy's out there. He looks to be either on an oh, he's got damage. He's on an in-lap. I think Devsy's out too. I don't think he's going to get the car repaired in time. Is that correct, Herman?
5 minutes, I'd say, is still enough time, but he needs to be making sure he's putting extra fuel in and go out immediately as soon as he can. To have maybe a second hot lap to prepare himself as well, because he was just spun himself out of Les 2 and had that crash from what I've seen. So yeah, Toby is very much at risk, and you have to say, if Toby beats his time and also his teammates' time, at least one Ferrari is out. That's for certain. So not a happy hunting ground for Ferrari, at least in qualifying one here already today. So let's see what they can produce here in the last minutes. Both have a time probably still available to him, as one of them is going out already. That was Toby, in fact. So yeah, if they both can improve, that would be good. But I think it might be already time for the Tifosi to wave goodbye to one of their drivers here in Q1 already.
Absolutely, the Ferrari drivers are in a spot of bother. Both drivers are near. Well, one is outside of the drop zone, if only just, and the other one is inside the drop zone. So I think Ferrari are going to have to try and sort themselves out. By the way, just while things are quiet, just want to say hello to a few of the people in chat today. We got to say hello to Anna, of course, one of my moderators. Of course, hello to Quincy as well, who's of course retired there in 8th place, but don't think he's going to be pipped all the way down to the drop zone, so can't blame him. Daryl finding the controller a hard time here, and fellow son having a few choice words for the decision made there, but he'll be starting all the way at the back as Eugene retired from the session, although his fellow son was completely disqualified. So a disqualification seen worse than a retirement. Fellow son is now relegated to the back of the field. So Herman, you've obviously been in a somewhat similar position. Of course, you started all the way down in 16th, although that is not last. What exactly could you say to fellow son about him carving his way through the field?
Just repeat what he did in one of the Qatar races or wherever that was. He was also P20 and somehow made it on the podium. I think Federson is the guy you want to have in a situation like this. Obviously, if he feels certain way of emotions right now, which I can completely understand, seems very easy to get it very wrong, at least from the point of view from the game. So sometimes you just get that disqualification, and Federson has really nothing to worry about. You have to say how the championship is currently looking, especially with his retirements in Hungary, and I think also not a good finish in Canada. He looks like he just has no pressure and basically just needs to go out there, have some fun as much as he can, and he will be doing that. Biggest opportunity in Monza is to have, if you have a bad qualifying, to be even at the back, because you can see everything what is going on in front of you. You can brake as early as you want. You don't have pressure from anyone behind, and you just completely can dodge the carnage into the first 2 turns, or maybe even the whole first lap. So just be patient and you're gonna be fine, because the races come to you. Don't do anything completely silly in terms of starting tires, because that could be a huge opportunity missed if there's a misclick basically on that. So yeah, just go fully safe on that. Don't gamble on safety cars. Just focus on your own race. As we see Toby come across the line now, 4/10 up on his middle sector time. Roughly 5/10 gain, but it is not fast enough to find an improvement in terms of position, as Devsy is also out on his attempt and completely skids off Les 2 once again. No invalidation, was slow enough there to have the time still be valid, and he's currently 4/10 up. That is still a long shot to be gaining as another 7 or 6/10 inside of the last sector. That is basically 3 corners. So let's see where he can put his final attempt on the board, but I highly doubt it's going to be enough for P15 or higher.
I was just going to say as well, I don't know if that's going to be a penalty. I also didn't see his DRS wing open, so yeah, no, this is not going to count for anything. It's only a couple of tenths up, so there we go. Falcor Warrior, Juan, Targangino are pretty much safe. They do not need to complete the laps there, as I think Danger David is actually giving Targangino a bit of a slipstream there. So there you go, Danger David lets his teammate through, and a bit of a bounce in the air through the second Variante there. Bavish as well, he's also on another flyer himself, up into third, wants to make this a little better, see what time he can make. Daryl is also out there, he's just going through Ascari now, and looking pretty quick so far. I'll just stay with Daryl, and then we'll work our way down the field, because we'll be needing to keep an eye on a couple of drivers. Has Toby gone out for another lap? Yes, he did, but couldn't improve, obviously, as that wouldn't have had the battery charge to complete that one, but Toby just having a go anyway, maybe just a practice lap for the race. But Daryl with a 1:20.0, that's good enough for 5th place. Looks out the top 5 there, but now we need to see what Tarkangino is about to do. Down a 10th in Sector 2, coming into Sector 3, start finish line now, goes into the pits, so that will be goodbye to him for the time being. But Bavish is one to keep an eye out. He's looking very pacey. He comes across the line now. It's no improvement. That's a 1:20.0. And Sergeant Devsey, I think, is still out on a lap. Yes, he is, but he's very much down by nearly 4 seconds. He will just come straight to the pit lane, and that is qualifying 1 coming to a bit of a dull end just due to some DNFs here and there. Wasn't quite the occasion we would have wanted, but never mind. We have another qualifying session to come, and maybe some excitement in that, as the field is much closer together there. But Herman, I think this one was just a calm session before the storm. It didn't really see a lot of drama happen, but the main headline, fellow son disqualified and starting from last.
Yeah, certainly. I think next to qualifying segments are going to be way closer, and especially for the or the jump into Q3 is going to be way tighter. I've seen, especially looking at Quincy right now, 20.3. Yesterday he was P50. There was nothing he could really find. I think he was half a second slower than this first attempt he has done, and after that he retired. So looking good, and I hope this brings extra juice to the interest and excitement for next qualifying 2 coming up.
Absolutely. So just to remind you of your current drivers that we are saying goodbye to in qualifying 1, it is Kovachka in 16th, Toby in 17th, one of the Ferrari drivers, Devsey in the Williams, and of course Eugene serving a qualifying ban, and fellow son disqualified for facing the wrong way in turn 2. But moving on with us is Falcor. Well, in fact, I don't have enough time. You'll see them in session 2 in just a few moments anyway. But Russia Siri taking the fastest time there in qualifying 1 with a 1:19.367. Now, we've got to predict, and this is going to be a little bit harder. We've got to predict who we're going to say goodbye to in qualifying 2. That'll be away in just a few moments, but I don't know. Quincy's been looking quite pacey. I was obviously watching, I was actually commentating on a race that he did in another league called Mad Bull Racing, and he was actually quite high up there. It was quite competitive, but just lost out due to Dyreware. But I think we could be seeing him in qualifying 3, and I think, as far as I remember, that would be the first time he's taken part in qualifying 3.
Yeah, I think he did in one of the earlier seasons. We had some full qualifying sessions in the history of SSRL already, and he said to me, like, for this season, or maybe it was also the last one already, where he was like, okay, it's not looking good right now, but if there's full qualifying, I really want to be in Q3 and show the pace I still got from earlier games. And yeah, obviously it's up to preference how much you can actually extract from performance. Setup is obviously and practice is important to you, and will always be to success in any kind of environment. But he has also stated to me privately that especially Division 2 this season feels like a real struggle, and I hope this is a bit of a upward light. And as you mentioned also, he is in a championship fight in another league is racing, so there's a bunch of racing Quincy is doing at the moment, and that is certainly free practice as well, even if these races in the past or in the future for him have not been going probably as he would have liked, disregarding any SSRL experience inside of the current 2 divisions. I think that's still something he has up on the other drivers, and I'm pretty sure this is going to come in handy for tonight. And one quick notice about something Daryl has been saying in the chat. Full quali question mark. I've used all tires. No, with exceptional amount of O. So I think there's a hard time coming up for Daryl. I think used tire, especially if you want to do multiple runs, is going to be tough. So let's see what's going to be happening inside of Q2 as we take energetic off to see who to see the earliest pace set by him, as multiple drivers have already queued up behind him, including both of the Haas drivers in Flip and Daryl we just mentioned. And I'm just gonna throw
Oh, energetic Tokyo drifting his way through turn 1 there, through Prima Variante, now through Biasono. It is gonna be, well, probably a bit of time lost there through turn 1, but definitely having a bit of a moment there. Can he get it up for the second Variante? Not anywhere near as dramatic there, so all sorted out for the V-Carb driver. But yeah, no, that doesn't really help, because then you also have to also consider, oh, dearie me, that rear end is not settled, Herman.
Not at all, and he was completely off there, and in fact get that invalidated. So no time coming up, but I can see right behind him both Hasses are very close together, and Flip is actually kind of racing Daryl. A lot of slipstream coming from the car in front, obviously, and you get a huge benefit of top speed. Not going to be handy inside of the Ascari chicane, but they're now basically racing past Energetic here. Let's see who gets a better lap time in there. Probably looks like Flip because of the extra top speed, but let's see. As the first guy across the line is going to be Jolly Boy John now, and he's going to be setting the early times that need to be beaten, as both Haas come across the line, and it's a 6/10 advantage, something that is probably going to be, in fact, the advantage you have if you are inside of the usual DRS train you're going to be seeing in league racing here. So if you're outside a DRS train, you can probably expect to be seeing drop lap times by 6/10 over 1 lap, and there are more times coming in. And I've noticed Falco Warrior, who was gonna be predicted by me out of Q2, has certainly set a good lap already, also ahead of Quincy, Tak, and Gino. Maybe they're using used tires. Let's see, but I'm interested to see if maybe also Kuan or someone else can get a better on any of these drivers, and more and more people will be completing their first runs. Also Energetic starting a second one, has enough fuel in there, and heads to Ascari. Let's see if he can keep it on the black stuff and put himself into the top 10 early on with a good lap.
I was also just going to note a little something here. We've had to say goodbye to Kvachka, and that's not necessarily bad news for Kvachka. As I mentioned to you earlier before the broadcast, he has 5 out of 8 races in the top 10 when qualifying outside of said place, as Tabran there up into 4th, although that looked like it just came through. I wonder if my timing is a bit glitched there, so I'm not quite sure how long that's been there, but very interesting stuff. But anyway, as I was saying, of course, Kvachka, 5 out of 8 races, starting outside the top 10, finishes within it. So, he's doing well, but also 5 rounds out of 6, he did 2 races in a row where he gained 10 or more positions. So, he's actually having a good little season if he is on the quiet end. And what he would have loved to have had a good qualifying here, go into Q3, and actually start within the top 10. And, well, if the curse of F1 is anything to go by, as wow! Babish there with a moment out of second Variante, tried to catch it and spins the car out of the way. Haas there having to skip altogether. That's of Daryl. Had to skip second Variante altogether, and that nearly didn't quite cause a collision, but it was certainly closer than what would have been considered comfortable. Very interesting moment there. Kwan, though, up into 8th right away. But Babish now needing to reset and go again, as there we go. Andy Andre sets the fastest time in qualifying, a 1:19.469. That's a very nice time, if I say so myself, Herman.
Yeah, certainly looks good from Andy early on here. 100% is going to be safe for him to go through. I think Rush in theory has a chance to also at least match this time, qualifying P3 yesterday on a 19.2 in Q3. And I think we also got overcast conditions, so that might not have been the optimal conditions overall inside of the last segment of qualifying yesterday. So I expect the times to be, at least if they can repeat, obviously, and don't have any hiccups, they can repeat these times and be somewhere near the high 18s, maybe 18.9 or 18.8 even. As I think Moksha has completed a second run after this and is going to be jumping up the field a bit. 20.3, found another 2 tenths and is probably going to be safe through as well. It's tight. 4 tenths to Tug and Gino, I have to say, and Rush and Snake have completed laps. Yet and Bevish was also looking good. So yeah, I think maybe only Andy and Flip seem to be relatively good to go as of right now. But yeah, from energetic down to Quincy is going to be tight already as Snake jumps to P4 on a 20.1.
And now we'll go to Rush Siri, who's about to start his final lap. And let's go on board with the Alpine driver for a hot lap of Monza. So you approach Prima Variante. Sudden braking zone here might cause a bit of trouble in the race, and known for causing trouble amongst sim racers for contact, but no dramas there in qualifying as such for Rush Siri. Now through Curva Biasono. He is going to be approaching the second Variante. You want to plant yourself on the right-hand side here. Brake just after the 100-meter board. Cut that a little bit more. Bring your car into the air briefly. Meet that exit curb. And now you want to set yourself up for the Lesmos left-hand side. Now you want to go right and meet that exit curb again. Keep yourself to the left for the second Lesmo. Cut that a little bit. And then you set yourself up now for this big long straight through to Ascari. Approaching over 200 miles an hour. Go under the old oval layout there in Monza. And now you want to go through Ascari there. Cut that apex a little bit, then go find yourself on the right, then left a little bit, and then of course you set yourself up down this shorter straight here, down to Parabolica. You want to brake as late as you can, but carry as much speed as you can. Stick to that inside. Then you want to meet the outside as soon as you possibly can, but then you might want to cut back just for the time advantage, and that's going to be a 1:19.466, 3,000ths faster than the Romanian Andy Andre. That is an epic time.
Yeah, Rush looking strong again, and he has certainly showed that yesterday as well. Jolly Bojon to P3 also on a 19.9. We had 5 people yesterday on a 0.4 in Q3 before the field spread more in terms of time. So it's looking mighty close already inside of this Q2 session. And there are some drivers probably, as we discussed already, especially looking at Daryl, have some worn tires. Quincy had an improvement, was 14th just a couple of moments ago. 20.1 again, beat his previous best, beat the time from yesterday. If you can find something more, maybe also some help from Andy, if they know how to manage maybe a DRS train or something, that would be lovely. And he certainly is looking like one of the favorites to make Q3, at least in the very tight pack of the midfield. So let's see what the other drivers can accomplish here. Daryl, just touched upon, is currently heading into the first chicane and starting one of his probably last attempts here. As also Bevish is out into what is now the second chicane, so just out of Daryl, and also Tark and Gino about to close out his lap. Let's watch this. Final turn from him, rushes through, thinks he's safe, and I would agree so at that stage. And Tark and Gino once again very close to Danger David, so they timed out laps and hot laps very well, and Tark and Gino over that line. P13. That is not enough to go through. I think cutoff time must be at 20.2 at least. So currently where Energetic is sitting, Moksha I wouldn't say is currently safe as well. Let's see if Bevish is completing that lap as well. Yeah, through Parabolica we go once again. Turn 11 on this racetrack. Now cut to the inside line. As discussed before, head over the line and he goes to 20.0. That is very much better than his previous best time. And P5 is looking very good, but I have to say, I think Energetic, who just dropped into P11, has still 2 tenths to find. Track evolution is a thing, especially in a full qualifying segment. Q2 to Q3 is a huge difference, and you sometimes can compare these levels barely with the normal short qualifying session we have. Also track depending a little bit, but overall there should be more time in this. And as the weather is still sunny, or at least just a bit cloudy, we can expect these drivers to put even better results now, as Energetic currently in P11 is heading for his probably final attempt, and he has kept the sliding off of his radar for this attempt, and I think he will be gaining some tenths already into the end of the first sector, going through now. And there's the split second. Okay, a tenth. That's not too bad. Can work with that. And most time is still found in Ascari probably here, because if you commit fully through that, especially with the turn in, you are good to go. That looked loose again, but he is holding on, and he completely lost it on the exit of Lesmo, completely skidding over the curb and hitting his rear wing in the wall. That might be some damage as well. Rear wing damage is easy achievable inside of this game. So if you just slightly tap it, your car is gonna be feeling like a F2 car, and he cannot control the dirty and hot tires. So I have to say, Energetic might be out here.
I'm afraid he is. He's just got some damage to that front wing. There's not going to be enough time to repair it, so I think that is his qualifying all said and done. And as soon as we look at that, Daryl is feeling the pressure. Quan has also started a flying lap in the background, so he will need to find, Quan needs to find basically half a second as of right now to get himself safe. Maybe even more if Daryl can find a good lap through here. I didn't quite catch what his timing difference was.
2 tenths up.
2 tenths up in Sector 1. That is a good start to proceedings as of right now. Into the second DRS zone now on the track. It is now down to Ascari, and he finds another 4 tenths in there. So Daryl, if he can put this all together in Sector 3, is going to be safe for the top 10 shootout. But now Quincy is out there on an outlap. Energetic has retired, so he's out of qualifying altogether. We'll cut to Quan in just a few moments. He's just going through Ascari right now. He's not too far behind Daryl, but Daryl, this looking safe thus far. It's going to be a 1:19.6. That is third place from the Haas driver. That's very impressive stuff. And a couple of drivers that are out on an outlap right now is Pleasant Snake and Quincy, but Quan has also improved by nearly half a second in Sector 2. What can Quan find? He's in the top 10! Oh my word! And he celebrates across the line, but it might not be safe. But this is a great effort from the McLaren driver. It's very rare to see him up here.
Certainly great effort. Looked very stable all throughout the lap, and I have to say, what a nice lap at there. And I have to ask the question now, if he maybe, based on what he's also said in the chat in the Discord, has thrown away a good front row start, because that were used tires, 3 laps old, probably maybe an outlap on them as well from Q1, because he obviously thought we were just going to be having one short 18-minute qualifying session, which wasn't the case. And if he used maybe 1 or 2 extra laps already on them, he's gonna be probably struggling to repeat this this current lap he has, and I think he's gonna be struggling even more into Q3, as Moksha has found 3 tenths and now has Quan in front of him. Maybe there's a bit of a slipstream coming. Yeah, looks like it. He's certainly gonna benefit from that. Moves to the outside and into the dirty air once again, and now the checkered flag is through. T-Band will not improve. There's Pleasant Snake to 4th position, looks to be through. Moksha needs to have a good lap here. P5 for the German as well now. David and Bavish inside of the end of the second sector. Falco, Tak and Gino, T-Band and Quan all are out. Quincy also beat Quan to that final lap, and even though they are still on the track and trying to improve their time. Oh, and Bavish gets it all wrong at the exit of Ascari. Just in the background, as I was watching the end of Danger David's lap. Let's see if he completes this one. Maybe a bit of a flexing contest in terms of the performance right now. Let's see what he can do. Jumps to 2nd position on also a 19.4. It's mighty close at the top, and we've just seen the end of Q2. I'm absolutely stoked for Q3 now, David.
Absolutely. 3,000 thousandths separating the top three, and Danger David, well, it is 2 thousandths there. My word, what a qualifying session that was, and certainly more drama to come in qualifying 3. This is exciting stuff. But now, just to go through your results very quickly, the drivers we are saying goodbye to, despite efforts from Tarkan Gino and Danger David, it is him who will be 15th, Falco Warrior 14th, then Energetic and Trabran are rounding off 13th and 12th. But Quan, despite say goodbye by only 200ths of a second there to Quincy, Quan with one of his best qualifying sessions in a very, very long time. 11th place for the McLaren driver, and as we are so used to seeing him at the back, that's a really nice improvement from Quan.
Yeah, if I could give a driver of the day vote for qualifying, that would go to Kwon already. Water performance, and so good to see him up further the order. And currently, in our point system, that would mean a huge amount of points, which McLaren could desperately need after what has been a rougher first half of the season, as we sign off after today 4 weeks break and then head into the second half of the season, where the only talking point we can have in terms of the championship is how much is Andy leading at the end of it. And I think he has some challenge upon his hands here tonight, as he's also coming out already into the driving lane with Quincy together. So both Mercedes opting for the early run here instead of the 12-minute Q3 session.
Absolutely. The countdown got underway about 40 seconds ago. There's a Haas of Flip, I think that is, right behind both Mercedes. So that's a very interesting call there. Darrell usually the first one out, but I think he's saving tyres. Don't expect Darrell to really make much of an impact in this qualifying session. He did win on Sunday when I broadcasted the Mad Bull Racing League a couple of days ago. But I don't know if that momentum is going to carry thanks to his mistake with the tyres in the 3-qualifying knockout session. But anyway, with just over 10 minutes to go, we need to put predictions in for pole. Now, obviously, based on what we've seen thus far, I'm going to say Rush the Series for pole. For second place, I'm going to say Danger David, and then for third place, I think I'm gonna go with Andy, and I think that'll be very safe.
Bit biased towards what happened yesterday, so I'm gonna say Andy, Rush, and David. I think when it's that close, 2 tenths yesterday, that could be extracted from Andy when it came to crunch time was very impressive as well. Control was very close to that on his final attempt as well. Couldn't beat him, so demoted Rush to third as well. So yeah, I'm just gonna go Andy, Rush, and David for top 3.
All right then. Well, let's see what happens. So at the moment now, Andy will be the first to... Well, no, he's not going to be the first to set a lap because Flip is some ways down the road. So he will actually be the first one to set a lap. Or is it Darrell? Oh, I've got myself all sorts of confused here. It is Andy who will be the first to set a flying lap. The car in front is Darrell, but on medium tyres. So he's just on an out lap. And Flip has remained behind both Mercedes. So it will be 1, 2, and 3 in whatever order for Andy, Quincy, and Flip. So we'll see how that all works out, but we won't have much longer to wait, as now Andy is just going down to Ascari right now after coming out of the second Lesmo. Here we go. Is this going to remain validated? A couple of drivers have got this wrong. Yes, it will. Andy doing a perfect job to keep it between the white lines and even going to the edge on the exit there. And now as they approach Parabolica, what order is this going to be in? Of course, Andy will be straight to the top. He needs to beat a 1:19.4 to have any sort of chance of keeping it in the top 3 at the very least. Andy under a bit of pressure over the past couple of weeks. That's a 1:19.0. My word, that is impressive. Quincy can only manage a 1:20.7, but for Flip, he invalidated the lap time. It's not gonna be even competitive. That was a 1:24.671 across the line anyway, so he'll go again. Moksha separates both Mercedes, as does Jolly Boy John. So Moksha with a 1:19.5 and Jolly Boy John with a 1:19.8. Another one to complete a lap is Bavish as of right now, but it's invalidated as well. So a lot of trouble coming to the drivers on this late stage of the session. At the moment, the next car that should be coming to complete a lap, I do believe, is Daryl down in 10th place, but on fresh medium tyres as his softs have been used up. Herman, how do you treat this qualifying session if your best tyres are for the occasion are all used up? Do you use this as race practice, or do you just try and go for it on a different set as he invalidates right there and then?
Yeah, I think a good call might be to get one final push lap on the soft tires, as we discussed before. A second out lap or even hot lap, cool down hot lap is certainly the rhythm you want to be having inside of qualifying. And I don't really think you've used any, but there might be a set left where he has like 6%, so maybe conserving that. And obviously, if you have 10 or more percent already now onto more sets, then yeah, just keep them. Honestly, if there's something happening inside of the race where you need to go to, or you have the opportunity to go to fresh softs, maybe, or slightly worn in this case, then I wouldn't mind going onto medium tires already here, because they are still strong enough to set a lap time, and sometimes that could be good enough, because we have seen Bevish already invalidating Flip. If they do that again and they only have maybe a second run, maybe a third one in total if they do this, yeah, as I said, hot lap, cooldown hot lap theme, they might be in trouble, and then Daryl is going to take that position gladly off of them. And although he invalidated the first attempt, he's trying again here into Ascari. He goes, and he's going to be finishing off the lap in a moment's time, as Russian Seer is behind him and is pushing towards the top step and also the front row. I think he's going to beat Moksha's time, his reserve teammate for tonight, because he is a reserve. And let's see what Derek can do now. 20 point something probably going to come up. 20.4, very good. And rush over the line, 19.3.
Impressive stuff there from the Alpine driver. Pleasant Snake will be the next to complete a lap if he can keep it validated, of course. That seems to be the main thing on everybody's mind. Of course, track limits no less easier here, especially through Ascari. And you could even argue, well, no, just really Ascari seems to be the point where laps are getting invalidated. Of course, there's the exit of the first and second Lesmo. Although we have found found one driver earlier on in qualifying finding out that the exit of the second Lesmo doesn't necessarily mean you invalidate, but I don't know how that would reflect with the stewards. That was, of course, up to them. But anyway, enough of that. Present matters as present matters concern. Pleasant Snake and Parabolica. He's just coming through the final corner now. And here we go. Where is he going to find himself if he's going to complete this lap and three other drivers are going to be really under pressure? That's 5th place for the Williams driver. That's a 1:19.8. Rush the Siri, of course, as we've just seen, up into 2nd. So we now need to keep an eye on a couple of other drivers. Flip is on an out lap as well. He's just going to come across the line now and I think begin his lap. No, he is not. He is currently just come out the second Lesmo. So that's going to be Daryl actually coming to the start-finish line. And into the pits he goes. And I would imagine for a fresh set, well, not a fresh set in his case, but for a set of soft tyres that can actually go the distance. But Herman now, Daryl's also got to think about race strategy. He's also got to think, well, I'm not going to have a set of softs, or a fresh set of softs available. You know, he's really going to be in trouble if there's a safety car period.
I think using the tires now, especially the second set of mediums, because there's a reserve set of mediums and hards for the race for all of these drivers, disregarding their allocation that it chose themselves before we headed into the first session that was Q1 today. I think that's not going to be hurting him too much. They're very durable here. It looks like he's going to be good to go even with that warm-up lap here. And yeah, let's say it's probably 1 or 2 laps less in terms of race laps he can probably do on them. Also depends a bit when he gets these tires. Is it in a late stage of the race? Then high fuel loads don't matter really that much, and they don't burn the tires or kill the tires too much. So one thing to notice while we watch or have watched the attempt of Flip, Danger David had to be seeming also going into the pits once again. No lap time on the board, 3 minutes to go. So I assume that was also invalidation from him.
So just to give you a little bit of let you know about Flip, he actually made a mistake coming out of the first variante. He actually got the bit of a squiggle on and unfortunately gave up on the lap soon after, so he is not going fast right now. I think it was Andy who just went and overtook him, so Andy's going to start the lap, and I think Flip will sensibly use Andy as a bit of a slipstream, although Andy has now got a beefy gap from the Haas behind him. We are now going to surely start to see drivers make their way out. Daryl has found another fresh set of softs, so I think he's got a bribed Pirelli there and just decided to say, you know what, I'll just bribe you, give me a fresh set of softs, and then let's go. Of course, if the quote is correct, I will just remind you earlier on, Daryl has apparently set a 1:18.7, which as of right now is the fastest time on the board, but if that's only if he can manage it, of course. In the moment, it is a very different occasion, at least mentally, than it is in practice, so we'll see how he goes on. But Flip there with a non-representative time of a 1:30.1, but all eyes go to Andy Andre, and he's actually backed out the lap as well, so maybe that's for tyre warming reasons. So we're going to keep an eye on Flip as of right now. He'll be one of the, well, he will be the first to come across the line out of the three that are on track right now between Daryl, Andy, and, of course, the Haas driver we are looking at right now, opening the second DRS zone. Drivers on an outlap right now are Bavish, Quincy, Moksha, Rush the Siri, and just now, Pleasant Snake. One last driver will be Jolly Boy John, and he's quickly running out of time, so he's got to get out of there now. In fact, he is, so I can see that those icons moving at the bottom of the map there. But here we go, on to Flip we go, with 1:24 to go. Through Parabolica he comes, not the optimal time to set a hot lap as the track will evolution past this point, so to speak. Flip comes across the line, that's third place, so that's a good time, but I don't think it'll hold. Andy, of course, will now start another hot lap, but Daryl will just go to him. He's 1/10 down in sector, no, 3/10 up in sector 2, but 1/10 down in sector 1. He's going to finish sector 3 in a couple of corners time. He is looking at Parabolica now, and this needs to be a magical sector 3 if he wants the top 5, although Trek Evolution might deny him of that still, with drivers behind yet to set a time. It is Quincy, Danger David and Bavish on outlaps, as well as Moksha, Jolly Boy John and Snake, but here we go, Daryl up to 6th place there. And Bavish in front of him has just started a flyer, and as Daryl retires from the session, Herman.
Yeah, still good attempt by Daryl, and I think he made the most of the mistake he had previously. So let's see what the other drivers can do. I expect David and Bavish to go through on him, and so that might be a bottom 3 start in terms of the position inside of the Q3, as also David and Jolly Boy John come over the line to start their final attempts with just a couple of seconds left, in fact 5, and I'm keeping an eye on the Red Bull now for the rest of the session.
We're just looking at Andy come across the line now, and he's apparently looking good for another improvement, maybe? No, not quite. Only 3,700 separating him there. Next across the line is not a Haas there. He's just on an inlet right now. It should be I can't figure out who that is. Is that Bavish? It indeed is. My apologies there. But now we are approaching Parabolica. He'll be the second driver to complete a lap in this session, and he hasn't set one before, so Bavish really under pressure here. We don't know his improvements as he hasn't set a time at all before now. It's going to be a 1:19.5. That's 5th place for the Mauritian driver. Next one across the line, I think will be... No, it won't be Pleasant Snake. He invalidated, so it's all over for him. Moksha also invalidated, all over for him. So next one we are looking at is Danger David. He's just passed Parabolica now, so he's approaching the start-finish straight. What is this going to be for the Red Bull driver to try and get second in the drivers? It's only 6th, and then it's taken away oh so swiftly by Jolly Boy John by the 1:19.5. But in the end, it is pretty much predictable. Andy on pole, but not without a challenge. Rush in second, Flip in third. We didn't see that one coming. And then Moksha 4th, Bavish 5th, Jolly Boy John 6th, Danger David 7th, Daryl in 8th, 9th, Pleasant Snake, and of course rounding out your top 10 is the Mercedes of Quincy.
David's lap looked good, I have to say, but I think overall maybe a bit of lag in terms of straight line speed, because that was also what felt like was happening from me inside of season 3. So let's see if he can stay with the guys in front and make up on this qualifying position.
I think David will be a little disappointed with that. You know, fellow son starting all the way from the back, so he has an advantage to try and overtake him in the drivers. But of course, you know, fellow son is a very quick driver in his own right, especially season 5 has basically been his awakening for his pace. So I wouldn't necessarily say that, you know, fellow son's out of it, but Danger David, they're not really taking full advantage of the opportunity given to him. And as you say, probably down on straight line speed like you were 2 seasons ago. But now, as we approach the race, I still think for the top 3 here for the race, I want to really include fellow son. You know, he's really done a good job in terms of when he has been driving. Of course, did have a couple of DNFs in rounds 5 and 6. But I do think that we shouldn't count him out. And of course, this is a track with a lot of straights, so DRS is going to be very powerful around here. And fellow son definitely has the pace. So I'm going to say that it's going to be Andy in first, Rush the Siri in second, and fellow son for third.
Okay, that's certainly a strong pick for Ferguson, but I have to say there's a race here where I can see that he's gonna make a strategy work, maybe going extra short on the first stint, lasting maybe longer into a second phase, also maybe covering mid race safety cars, probably because people are gonna feel maybe they need to extend sometimes if they are not in the train, because then if everyone else pits, they're just outside their pit window if they bunch up together and start fighting, and then they are going to turn into traffic that they don't have to walk through if you overcut. So yeah, that's a strong pick, I have to say, but I'm gonna back Russian Series for the win here. I'm gonna go Andy second, and based on qualifying, I think Flip is a bit further up than expected. Some drivers also didn't put a second good run in there, so I'm gonna back Mocha to get out of his slight slump he's currently in, but I can imagine himself turning this one around on the track where he first took the win for the what is now Division 1, the old no stabilizers allowed league on Monday. So let's see what Moksha can do starting from 5th. So yeah, I'm backing him to get on the podium again.
And of course, Moksha looking to actually get back on the podium. Of course, he did 3 out of 4 races. Well, for 3 out of the first 4 races, he got on the podium there, got a bit of a streak going, had a couple of DNFs just like fellow son, and could only manage 7th place last week. So he would love to get back on that podium, as you would say. And of course, Andy looking to keep his winning streak going from 6 to 7. And of course, Kovachka, well, he'll be looking to be inside the top 10 for 6. Well, for what is 5 out of 7 races, I should say, not 5 out of 8. So it'll be 6 out of 8 for him. So Kovachka having a good little season, even if it is a bit quiet in terms of points there. But I would say that, you know, Kovachka could find himself in the top 10, but we'll see how that all goes. In terms of strategy, of course, remember that there is a mandatory 2-stop rule. So, of course, you have your mandatory 1-stop, but then you also have to do a second one. So a lot of strategy comes into play. It's been really well received from the drivers. And, of course, for those that have been watching along the past few weeks, bar a couple there where we couldn't go live due to ping issues, I hope it's been a source of enjoyment. But here we go. We now have 3, 4, 5 red lights for the race. And it's going Monza. I think we got away a little early, so someone's hit ready up. But anyway, it's Andy leading the way. Rush the Siri going side by side into the first Variante. Here we go. Who is going to come out in the lead? It is Andy, but now Flip might have a go at Rush for second place. Is he going to get a good exit out of the Variante? Looks like so. And in terms of other drivers as well, fellow son is up a couple of positions there, up 3 positions as of right now. And Moksha actually found a good exit as well. He's now up into 3rd. This is very good stuff thus far, but everybody keeping it clean so far. Falco's up 3 positions as well. Fellow son just got another position on Danger David's teammate, Tarkan Gino. Bad news for David at this early stage of the race, though.
Yeah, Fellerson made it had a completely calm start, as I suggested. Stay out of the trouble, brake early as you can, and don't get into pile-ups that may be happening in front of you. And he has opted for the hard tire, so it's definitely going to be going longer as Quincy takes the fight with Daryl into the Ascari chicane, and he will be looking at an extended stint, so he's going to be racing at the end of the race.
And Daryl there pushing Quincy off through Ascari as Fellow's son has already caught up to his teammate, and I don't think the teammate's going to make that much harder than it needs to be. Indeed, he does not. So that's Fellow's son up 6 positions in one lap, and of course Andy with the fastest lap at the end of lap 1. But to rush the series, 1.2 seconds. That is insane pace there, as now Energetic is starting to get in a fight with one of the Aston Martins of Tabran there. Can he make that stick into the first variante? Not quite. Bit of contact, maybe. Didn't quite see that. Oh, bit of contact there from Fellow son of Falcor Warrior. Put Fellowson into a little bit of a spin there. Kovachka gets back past, but that won't be good for Fellowson's charge through the field. And all of a sudden, it's all getting a little bit dangerous there with where Fellowson's at. Kovachka needs to let him back past, and Fellowson gets a better exit than his teammate. Can he do it into the first Lesmo? Not close enough as of right now, but Andy as well cutting to the lead. Battle for the lead just very briefly. It is 1.3 seconds, so Rush the Series has already lost that DRS, but that's not necessarily bad news at this early stage of the race. It just means that he will need to find a way back in before the pit stops occur. As you see there, Kovachka letting Fellow's son back through, but also allows Tarkan Gino through, and he's going off the track, and Falcor Warrior decides to have a go as well. A lot of action already, and we've had nearly 3 laps off this 27-lap race. UJ is also in there, as Andy sets the fastest lap very briefly, and then Moksha decides to have a piece. Let's go there, as Daryl has had a moment. No, he's just coming into the pits. I don't know if he's had some damage there. Herman, did you catch anything?
I didn't see it, but I'm just gonna see if the Haas pit crew is gonna make changes to his front wing, and it doesn't seem to be the case. So fresh medium tires for Daryl, already onto his first stop on a 3 here.
All right, then. Daryl completes his first stop there. Tyre for him, as Herman said, is the medium tyre. So he's going to probably go on to the hard tyres, I would say, for the last stint of the race, although I could be wrong. Falcor and Tarkan Gino are having one hell of a battle at the back for 14th place there. Of course, one of the final points-paying positions there. In Falcor Warrior and Tarkan Gino currently having a fight, but that's allowing Kovachka in front to get away. But Falcor Warrior there wide on the exit of the second Lesmo. That allows Tarkan Gino to get some momentum, and that is very much easy as you like. But there's the McLaren of UJ in there down the inside of Varianti. Surely not, and no, couldn't make it work. But that allows Quan to have a one, and Quan down 6 positions, and going on to the exit curb there, bounces through and loses a position to Toby there. So some great racing at the back of the field, but Rush the Series with the fastest lap of the race, and now with DRS to Andy RJ. Can he have a go into the first Varianti? Not close enough, as now 6 drivers battling for the leaders. Quincy has now made a move for 8th place on Pleasant Snake there, but 3 seconds to find to the top 7. So it's a 7-car battle for the lead of the race, and now Rush the Series and Andy go side by side for said lead, and Andy really doesn't try to battle that too hard. He finds a way through, and Rush the Series having a bit of a moment through there, and that could have ended in disaster. He keeps it together, but loses 2 positions in the process, gets a bit of a bump from Flip, but overall he's still pointing in the right direction. And Herman, that could have been the end of the race for Rush the Series there and then.
Yeah, it was certainly looking quite feisty, but yeah, I think Rush kind of smelled an opportunity here, because Andy has been using EIS before we headed back for the battle of the lead. I just realized how much energy there was still left, and there was quite an advantage as Quincy has dropped it into Ascari, went extremely wide over the gravel trap now, and there might be an opportunity for the cars ahead, including Energetic 6 and T-Brand, to get a better of a Pleasant Snake, and they're almost free wide into Parabolica. On the outside is the Aston Martin, or even on the hard tires, keeping quite well with the Williams as the top two swap again, and Moksha's into the lead. And multiple cars jostling for position. David and Flip in there as well, trying to get the braking points right. They are bumping each other a bit into the first couple of corners, and now Moksha's exited turn 1 and 2 as the leader. What a turn of events already, as Pleasant Snake continues to fight T-Brand, and they are now heading through Curva Grande into the second variante, and currently the Williams is ahead. What a nice battle so far in every part of these little DRS groups, as Fallerson is trying to get back into the fight with them, and he has certainly done so, because all of this fighting, if all of you have DRS inside of a train, is gonna benefit people in the back, even if they lose time on the straights for a couple of times on the lap. But Fallerson is looking to get into the top 10 very soon.
I'm absolutely confused. Oh no! Barrett's just made contact with Jolly Boy John and sends the Aston Martin round. And that was through Ascari. Luckily, Jolly Boy John gets out the way very quickly. No safety car deployed or needed, so that was very good awareness from Jolly Boy John, but he's struggling to get it back out on track. But contact between the V-Carb and the Aston Martin, and really Ascari isn't somewhere you go side by side from, so I don't know if Jolly Boy John could really be surprised at the outcome there. I think that would be a racing incident, all things considered, but that's Babbage through now up into 5th place on Flip there, and Flip has dropped the advantage. I didn't quite see what happened there, unfortunately, so I've completely missed that, but it has been a really chaotic start, and that just feels like what Monza should be. Chaos in the first few laps of the race, Herman.
Three-wide moment between Fallerson, Quincy, and I think that was T-Brand for a moment, as Fallerson has made 2 positions before heading into the second variante and is now up into P8. All of this battling and jostling for position has made himself find a window, and he has just picked them apart at the first opportunity he had, and now he's still within the DRS of the V-Cup ahead of Energetic as they fight at the front once again. Andy taking Moksha into the Ascari chicane at the back end of the second DRS zone, and Moksha is still with him, close proximity. David as well. Bevish has now lost, obviously, due to that contact, and the top 4 have been descending from the top 7, as both Flip and Energetic now have to find themselves a little bit of a trend themselves, as we head into what is lap 7 now, with both Alpine on the back of the Mercedes. And as soon as I said that, Moksha retakes the lead of the race and is heading first into the first chicane. Rush is keeping it very cool as of right now. Has pressure from behind, but has not opted to maybe send a dive here on Andy. It's still a long race. We haven't seen the first pit stop, apart from, I think it was Daryl and Jolly Boy John already, as Toby and Quincy head into the pit lane, with Toby being on the soft tire before at the race start, and Quincy onto the second medium here already, trying to undercut the group that is currently led by Fallerson now in P7 down to P10.
I just want to say, somebody at the back of the field there, Daryl, has had a second pit stop that we did not catch, as we have a caution in Sector 2 for one of the McLarens. It's of Quan. Oh,
just had a mishap on the exit of the second variante, but he is in still good shape and no damage to his car.
Okay, then. It came up as Sector 2 for me, so do apologies if that was a completely different part of the track. But anyway, moving on to what I was talking about, Daryl there had to make a second pit stop there for hard tyres. He initially was on the medium, but was behind the pack by 30 seconds. As, oh my word, Rush the Siri with a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. And that means his race win could all be in doubt, and even the podium would need to serve a second stop in order to remove that, of course, or take it all the way to the end of the race, and I doubt he'll do that. And Kovachka as well into the pit lane, and things starting to calm down a little bit now, but we would love a safety car and bring the pack back up together again and then have more chaos. That would be ever so lovely. But anyway, Fellow Son currently trying to defend from Energetic into the second variant. He does so successfully. Neither driver under any real threat either, so they just kind of slot themselves in. And, well, Energetic, I would imagine, would wait for DRS zone number 2. But Andy RJ is your leader of the race as things stand now. And now Rush the Siri has really undone himself with a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Russell Siri has gone on to a fresh set of mediums, so I would imagine he could carry those all the way onto a set of softs if he's got any spare. And UJ, despite his track limits penalty of 3 seconds, makes his way past Tarkangino for 10th place there. Of course, points go all the way down to 15th place, which is currently occupied by a Devsy. Quincy 8.3 seconds behind. But of course, if you're wondering why Daryl is all the way back there, have we had a bit of a change? Have we had a bit of a pit stop?
Yeah, Moksha and David have just come in, so David has lost the DS to the guys in front, and Moksha just tried to go in and is now undercutting Andy, so the next lap is going to be crucial, and multiple cars are coming in inside of the mid-pack as well, so I'm interested to see how much positions Quincy can gain, or if he lost any, because he's not really close to anyone that was inside of that group he was in. He's just passing Tarkangino and is at the back end of what is, I think, energetic. So maybe not the right strategy call, because he hasn't gotten any positions back. We will see in the latter stages of this race if he is in a position to fight for good points, because he certainly was before we headed into the pit stop phase.
And here talking about pit stop phases, drivers yet to make a stop are Devsy, Quan, and then of course the rest of your top 7, which consist of Falcor, UJ, Tabran, Fellow Son, Bavish, and Flip Nams Ram, as well as your current leader Andy Andre has been one of the ones to stick it out the longest. As we now go on to lap 10, as Andy does indeed now make his way into the pits. The pack we are following follow through. Fellow Son there, up 16 positions already, and Fellow Son
side by side into the pit lane by Flip and Bavish. I've seen this yesterday. It was crazy again. Bavish just fought with Flip outside of the Ascari chicane. Both went side by side into the Parabolica, and now both into the pit lane as well. They could be separated, but by the line now, and the game has decided to give it to Flip because he's ahead after the pit stop, and that was quite crucial to Bavish to try at least. But he didn't get the gamble, so the coin flip did not work, but they're still close together, and that is very important to stay within the DRS or the DRS train after you pitted as well, with Pleasant Snake and Energetic approaching behind on fresh warm tires. They're gonna be fighting with this group again very soon, I expect, as Rush has overtaken Andy and Moksha's close to him as well, so 2 seconds undercut by 10 seconds is not going to be the win for Rush as of right now, but we still have over half the distance to go, so let's see how this is managed by Rush.
And absolutely, we need to consider safety car as well, as Bavish on the exit there overtakes Sergeant Devsy, and Sergeant Devsy just getting out of the way of everybody. He knows he should be in a place which he isn't. 9-lap old hards compared to fresh tyres on everyone around him. Sergeant Devsy yet to make a stop. Bavish there thought about going for it in Ascari, but realised he wasn't close enough, backs out of it, and continues on. But at the moment, Fellow Son, well, has completed the last to first challenge, if you're being technical in one way or another. Currently, Fellow Son, now your leader of the Grand Prix, a dramatic entry into the first entry there, bouncing off 2 tyres there to Bran as well. Up into second, but of course this will not last very long, as Moksha makes a move for 4th place under DRS conditions into the first variante as well. Bavish as well, having also another battle. That's for 7th place, and that's all said and done. But now Danger David will be looking to try and catch up with all of this. By the way, good catch from Herman earlier on, with Bavish and Flip going side by side into the pit lane. I completely missed that, thanks to the angle I had with my camera following Fellow Son, but really happy that someone caught that and was able to react to it. So I do love having Herman as a co-commentator. He is very appreciated in this league, that's for certain. But now, with Fellow Son on the hard tyre, we are now basically wondering when he is going to make the first pit stop. Will it be this lap? Will it be later on? Herman, what is your guesses on that?
I think he's gonna skip on the soft and say no thank you, so I would assume it's gonna be soon. I think the best time for mediums overall in terms of their raw performance is gonna be like now, and Fellison heads into the pits. T-Brand is following him very quietly as well, started on the hards, as did Devsy, who's still yet to make a stop. So I think if you split it now, it's going to be perfect, even if you have safety car interferences, because you can just extend one of these tires if you need to. And that is certainly one good option here with the pack now being scrambled together again. He's going to be probably a bit lower where he was before the undercut phase basically happened with the group around Quincy, who's now in P11. And yeah, he even jumped that. So that is very good from Ferguson, and he almost had a moment there with Energetic.
He did. He was just going side by side with Energetic into turn number 1 there, the first variante. And nearly made contact with Energetic, but luckily it all kind of sorted itself out and they were able to give each other the racing room. Very respectful stuff from both drivers, but Fellow Sun now already up 11 positions and surely only more to come, and on fresh, hard tyres as well. Don't expect 9th place to be the finishing position. Danger David, though, has dropped back from the top 3 as well, so now it is Moksha, Andy, and Rush Nasiri. Of course, Rush Nasiri is a bit of an odd one out as of right now, as we keep saying, due to his 10-second penalty there, earned for speeding in the pit lane during his first pit stop. So don't really expect that to be the final finishing position either, but then again, he could be hanging on for a late charge on the soft tyres, as well as Andy now sets the fastest lap of the race of a 1:20.866. Just to give you a comparison from when we were last here in Season 3, the fastest lap there was a 1:21.689 from Danger David, and that has been well beaten now, as Fellow Sun does go side by side with that is Energetic, as did Flip and Bavish, but also in between this is Pleasant Snake. So he's trying to benefit from all this, but just finds himself a bit of an innocent victim as of right now. And here we go. So we're going to continue this battle into the second variante. Does it all work itself out? Nobody going for a move there. Energetic thought about it, just saying to Fellow Sun, hey, I am thinking about it, but that's Fellow Sun you're dealing with, and he's trying to fight for second place with Danger David. That's not going to be so easy. And Fellow Sun remaining 8th for the time being. Now, obviously, Fellow Sun are having an impressive drive as of right now. Who else has caught your eye here, Herman?
Yeah, one note I wanted to make, that Fellison, you just glazed over it. I think Fellison to the second hard tire is very interesting. Didn't think that was going to be happening, as Energetic is a 3-second time penalty inside of that group. As Snake is now challenging Quincy retires, and that's a safety car! And the whole race is on its head again! As the top 3 has already passed the entranceway, are people gonna make the jump to Hearts, including Flip and Bavish now? They have a prime opportunity here if they see it, and they are going into the pit lane, and obviously even Hart now, and don't have a second one just like Fellison has. I think someone like Danger David, who was opting for that opposite strategy, is going to be on the back foot sooner rather than later, because I'm certain the top 3 are going to pit. Rush is going to serve the penalty. Moksha are going to be not going to be leading the race if they don't somehow swap the positions, which I don't know if that's even possible. But Rush is certainly going to want to be in, and then he's going to be stationary for 10 seconds, and that guarantees Andy basically the lead of the race. If none of these Alpine drivers are aware of it. So let's see what this shuffle is going to bring. Multiple drivers just pitted before. We saw Feddersen only being on this tire from 2 laps now, and it's completely on his head once again. No idea how this is going to play out for the next 13 or so laps.
Absolutely there. Rush Nasiri has brought him and his teammate into a whole world of trouble. As Herman has already said, with Rush Nasiri leading the pack, it means that Moksha will also be held up by Rush Nasiri's 10-second time penalty, which of course was for speeding in the pit lane during his first stop. Now, what does Moksha do? All eyes on him. He follows through. Oh, no. This is this. As he gets another 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Danger David as well does indeed follow suit, but everybody behind has, of course, got a pit stop. And, well, Fellow Sun also comes in as well. I thought he'd already pitted, but might be my mistake.
Second hard for David. That's good.
Second hard.
Very good for David.
Second hard for David. And look at this. Yes, bad news for the Alpine outfit. It has been a disastrous little pit stop. And he even had to hold there to allow the cars through. And Moksha does indeed make his stop. But it is, it's just not worked out at all.
Fellison is 4th.
Bello's son now in 4th place after all of that, and just behind Rush the Series. Oh, wait a minute. Falco Warrior says, hang on a minute, you didn't consider me. Didn't make a pit stop under those conditions, and that's not really the best call there from the Ferrari driver, but finds himself in 3rd position. And Rush the Series now has another 10-second penalty to serve. So after serving his initial 10 seconds, and that was it. It's all, well, Rush the Series race has all but come crashing down yet again. I don't think he's going to be winning this one, Herman.
No, certainly not. And I think Fedderson's chances of being on the podium have just increased by a huge amount of percentage compared to what I originally thought was also a good chance. And you also gone right there to predict him. And yeah, with penalties and also, yeah, Falco maybe he doesn't have the second hard. I think even if you have the fresh medium tire still available to you from qualifying, if you didn't use it, you should maybe try and do this. 12 laps is still good to go. He didn't pit twice already.
No, he
No,
hasn't.
so he needed to anyway. So yeah, I think that's a missed opportunity here. Flip is still looking good. Bevish as well. Rush is gonna be probably outside top 5. If you look at what the current top 7 basically looks like. Also, Moksha dropped back massively because of that. T-Brand has even a shot. He was so quietly in this race, followed another 10-second time penalty for energetic there with a collision with Daryl. Even has some good pace, was following Fellison throughout the first stint, and now Rush makes the second pit stop for serving time penalty. And I think that's not a bad call. And he goes to softs.
I will question the call to softs. Those won't go till the end. To be honest with you, I don't think that was that's going to be smart. I mean, the pack is already close together, so we're going to be racing at the end of this lap regardless, as now Energetic gets a 10-second penalty for ignoring yellow flags, and also got, well, 23 seconds in boot for Energetic due to a severe collision that might not have been that severe, neither of them needing to pit to replace any damage to relevant rings. In fact, Darrell looks to be all in top form there, but Darrell up to 11th has been given a lifeline after having a damage early on, but then again, Darrell hasn't pitted either, but he's got 12 lap old hards on as of right now. Yeah, no, I don't know what Darrell's doing, in all honesty. He's going to be losing out big time to the cars around him, especially Rush the Series, who's now in 19th place. But safety car number 1 has been completed, just about. Brought out thanks to the slightest bit of contact with the wall, according to Quincy there. By the way, one of our viewers saying 5-lap old hards can run those to the end now. No, he cannot, because he needs to come in for his second stop. It is a mandatory 2-stop season, remember. So he has only served his 1 stop thus far, as well as Sergeant Devsey has only served 1 stop right now. So 2 drivers still needing to make their mandatory second stop, or else they will face a major penalty at the end of the race. So,
I think the new guys need a bit of more practice to maybe get this into the system, that sometimes, or especially now with safety car, with a safety car on the track, you sort of need to figure out the best optimal strategy that is still available to you, even if your tire choice isn't the right one left. If you have done the pit stop and there's another thing happening inside of the race, another safety car, VSC, whatever, you can still opt for a faster, better tire that matches the remaining length of the race. You can still gain some points, and as we discussed, I think 15 it seems like it's not in the points, but we have these points in place from P1 to P15. So if you're looking at not stopping now in the safety car, you're gonna be certainly out of the points. And yeah, Falco Warrior thinks he's probably in a good position right now with 3rd, but yeah, I have to say 20 seconds in terms of pace made up under green flag racing is gonna be a huge task with only 10 laps remaining. So yeah, I think they're gonna be looking at the second half where they can find maybe improvements to find bigger point scoring races, with the 2 mandatory stops in mind.
I just wanted to say as well, I think you did point this out, but I just didn't quite hear you. But Russ Siri went in for his 4th stop on the race. And that's why we didn't actually go racing on that lap. So once we do go racing again, it'll be 10 laps to go. As safety car is now called in this lap, it would have been called in regardless of where cars were, if they were at the back of the pack or not. But Russ Siri able to catch up, so his time loss isn't going to be that major. But now we were going to do what we always do. It's going to be Andy that will lead the audio, Danger David in second, but no buffer between either two drivers. And if Danger David can have a shot here, he could try and get in front of Andy and begin causing some trouble, because there's fellow Son as well. So we've got first and second sharing the same piece of track. And I think Andy went away before I could go silent. He indeed did, and left Danger David a little bit napping there. So already we are looking at just under a second for the gap, and that's not going to be good news for David, so he needs to try and play catch-up as soon as possible. But now fellow Son surely going to try and have a go on the Ferrari into turn 1. Moksha already passed the V-Carb of Bavish there. He's up into 6th, so he's already read the assignment and is getting on with it. Fellow Son side by side with Falcor on the exit of the first Variante, now through what I think we call Curva Grande. Fellow Son gets up into 3rd place, and that is an impressive drive even at this point for the Hungarian driver. Great stuff there, as now he's only 8/10 behind Danger David. But of course, due to the safety car period, DRS will be activated next lap. Just a bit of an update on Russ Siri at the back as well. Already up 2 positions from 19th. He is currently looking at the back of Kwan and Sergeant Devsey there. Kwan, despite his great qualifying performance, finds himself in 11th, and Flip as well in the top 5, and gets a 3-second penalty after overtaking Falcor there. And Bavish as well following suit. It is Ascari causing trouble for the drivers, Herman.
Yeah, I watched the restart of the rush, and I have to say the back end of the pack was very slow to react. We had a short 10-second gap from P1 to P19 at that stage, but Rush has used a lot of ERs on this opening lap to make his way through, and he needs to pass multiple people per lap as they start to pick fights for their final position. You need to go through a whole bunch of people if you're inside a train, which is obviously common sense that is happening after a safety car restart, and he takes P16 away from Devsey, P15 away from Devsey. So he is now the task to get into Kovačka's DRS window before the entry to Lesmoto, because there's the next DRS detection point coming up for him.
And I'm just going to say as well, like, even if Rush Siri made those multiple positions throughout the lap, he's then got to remember, from 4th place, there's a 2-second gap to the top 3. So even then, if he does make all that way, he would only really be looking at a maximum of 4th position there. As now we also see another battle between Jolly Boy John and Sergeant Devsey for 16th place. Of course, the final points paying position is where Rush Siri is right now. Was able to find the DRS of the Kick Sauber in front. Gets a good exit out of Ascari. To the outside he goes. Fellow Son has just made a move for 2nd place on Andy Andre. Going side by side on the outside of Parabolica, and they're still there. They will both get DRS on the exit on Danger David, but the top 3 making this a very exciting Grand Prix with 8 laps to go now. And here we go, as Moksha in the background making a move for 4th place. I thought that was going to be 3 wide there going into the first Variante for the leaders, but it all works out in the end, and it's 1st place for Andy Andre yet again. But fellow Son having to remain back in 3rd place, and Moksha is really trying to make an impression there. He might have a chance to catch up before the next DRS zone on the exit of the 2nd Lesmo. Let's see how he is coming into the 2nd Variante. And not bad at all, gaining 0.3 of a second there, just under.
Oh no!
Falco Warrior is out! Safety car again! Oh no! This is bad news for a couple of people. And Rush Siri, did he have something to do with that, Herman?
Yeah. Falco, I think, was in a fight with Eugene there, going into the 2nd Variante. Then he spun around over the curb on the inside, was kind of halfway through, and then just I think he just rolled a bit still because of the momentum, and then completely crashed with a rush into the 2nd part of the chicane, the right hand side turn 4, and front right part of the wing is damaged. So yeah, I think some people at the back might be gambling for softs now. Don't think anyone at the top is doing that, but yeah, Rush, if you have that, go in. There's 2 laps of safety car, and then you can blast your way through. And obviously, you want more downforce on the car through these turns as well. And he is looking like to go in. There's also another one in. That is Devsy, another 10-second time penalty. I think Rush for the first time, or the second time, didn't get one. Yeah, that is correct. So after serving 2 in quite quick succession, he has now stopped himself from doing that. New wing onto the Alpine, and we are bound to be seeing more overtaking from him. He just did that for 2 laps, and now he has to do that for the next 4 probably as well, or 5, if we get going again soon, probably at the restart of lap 23. Unlucky moment there for Rush. Had himself in a bit of trouble because he received those 2 speeding penalties, and now a bit of unfortune coming also onto his tally for today. Points are still on offer for him, certainly, also with these penalties inside of the race, as some drivers have. So yeah, just completely go flat out here, and he can still be found at the end, probably inside the top 10. And yeah,
from the highs of heaven to the depths of hell is Rush the Series. Past couple of days winning here last night in Division 1, but sadly will find himself outside of the podium as things stand in Division 2. It has been an evening to forget for the Alpine driver, and well, it's only probably going to get better from here. We will have about 5 laps to run once we get going again. Was Danger David thinking about a pit stop there? You think he was trying to dummy his car in to try and maybe fool Andy Aldre, or at least a couple of drivers into going in, but didn't quite work out, so he will stay ahead. But what we were looking out for, Flip as well, despite a nice improvement in qualifying, finds himself in all sorts of trouble, and energetic as well, not serving his 20-second penalty in the pit lane, and I don't think Devsy is either. Yeah, no, he isn't. He's decided to stay out with 10 seconds on the board there. Rush the Series is obviously the one we're waiting for to catch up, and we will be racing at the end of this lap. So 5 laps to go. And well, no real buffers in there, as the buffer from last time between David and fellow son has retired. Falcor Warrior through the second Variante after contact, well, not contact, but carrying Rush the Series through with the accident. Again, Rush the Series finds himself at the back of the field for the second safety car period in a row. And, well, just been an evening to forget for the Alpine driver, of course. A 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane on his first pit stop. Then, of course, had to serve that. And Moksha, who is currently in 4th position, also had to serve that basically along with him. Got his pit stop time extended more than he would have liked, but still finds himself with this fight for the lead. So Moksha could be on the podium in a few laps' time. Safety car has indeed been called in, and we will go quite a bit sooner this time because Andy living to go early round here in Monza. So Andy, have the audio, take it away. And he gets going at the exit of Parabolica there, and just a bit of information from Quincy. It was an unsafe rejoin by the Ferrari driver. That was why Rush the Series was involved. But look at Danger David's run, going into the first Variante. He's on the inside, going into turn 1, gets the move done, and he takes the lead of the Italian Grand Prix as, oh no, fellow son, with a 3-second penalty for track limit violations, loses his podium. And at this stage of the Grand Prix, that's surely a loss of the top 5 as well, but needs to find a gap sooner rather than later. And I don't think fellow son has got any of his front wing end plates. He hasn't. He's lost both of them. After the highs of getting into the podium, he is now finding himself with no downforce. His evening has just gotten a lot worse than it needed to. and now he's carrying damage. Rustashiri wasn't quite as zippy as he was on the start previously. With 5 laps to go, finds himself still in 17th place, but probably isn't going to be trying as hard either. And look at that, 1.3 seconds down on his personal best, his fellow son. And well, it's going to have Moksha for company very soon, Herman. This is just not really what fellow son would have wanted.
I spotted the damage on the reset. I think that must have been happening at the phase where we just slowed down again for that safety car phase we just seen the ending of, and Moksha's looking feisty and he's gonna complete the podium, I'm sure of, not only because of the penalty but because of the damage to the car that he's now overtaking into turn 1 side by side. He's already ahead by a car length, and Ferguson is gonna give him that bit for freer. They're not fighting it too much, thinking about more positions behind, maybe trying to get behind Moksha and stay within his DRS. Moksha is still racy, and if Andy and David start to fight for the win, Moksha can be there to take advantage of maybe just a bit of brawling if they start to fight soon. So yeah, Ferguson wants to be using these tires a bit to make sure he's I was close again with track limits, that he's using these tires to make sure he's staying with the top 3.
UJ there having a bit of a moment at the exit of the second Lesmo. Keeps it on the track, but it's going to be under pressure from Pleasant Stake behind. Of course, Pleasant Stake has no penalties to boot, so he'll benefit from both Energetic and UJ towards the end of the race, but really needs to make a move if he wants more positions. Tabran as well will be in 4th position, so a good haul of points for the Aston Martin driver if Jolly Boy can keep it there and maybe make a couple of positions at the end himself. But now we're going to cut to the lead of the race, because look, Moksha is 3/10 within Andy, and Andy's within 3/10 of David. Will either driver make a move on one another into turn 1? Not close enough to do so, so we'll have to wait on that a little bit. Fellow son drops out of DRS as well for a brief few moments there going into the first variante, but it's all as you were. Been a bit of a couple of moments here in the background. Jolly Boy John finds a way past Kvachka for 12th place. Kvachka won't be continuing his run of form to finish inside the top 10 as things stand right now. 3 laps to go, I was correct. And at the moment now, battles are forming up and down the field, and this is what you like to see. Monza preferring up another classic race, and that's surely going to go down to the final lap of said race. But fellow son not really going to gain much from here. The top 10 very much close together in terms of DRS, and there you go. Andy, speaking of DRS, Andy takes away the lead of the race from Danger David, but for how long, we are soon going to find out. David looking particularly racy this time around. Caution in sector 2 for Sergeant Devsey, who's got that wrong on the exit of the second Lesmo. And well, Herman, you've raced with Andy so many times throughout the previous 3 seasons. What do you think is running through the Mercedes driver head as we approach the second to last lap?
Always when there's a move by Andy quite close to the end of the race, he is looking like he wants to be in the lead, wants to be the leading car, but I think David is going to be the leading car soon. Yeah, he is taking the Mercedes lead off him into turn 1 and 2 once again. So sometimes Andy wants to get by, putting some pressure on the drivers when he's trying to get away. Couldn't push on this lap, has now the DS advantage, can opt to stay with David in second. Just don't allow any mistakes to create opportunities for Moksha behind, as Pleasant Snake now takes 8th off of Energetic and is now looking to try to close down that gap to Flip. I think Andy is probably going to stay behind now, but he has to be aware that if Moksha starts fighting, David is going to be away. So he has to, or he is looking for that move already, and he is repassing him immediately after David got him into turn 1, and we have only 1 lap left here. I think this one is going to be spicy.
And I think what Andy is trying to do is actually take the lead into Ascari, as their Moksha is going to try for 2nd place. But we're going to start the final lap now. And for 3, maybe 4 drivers, if Tabran can find a move on Fellowson down the straight, it is going to be 3.6 miles separating the drivers from certain victory. Andy all the way down to 3rd already. And this is bad news for the Mercedes driver as David takes the lead of the race. Fellowson Son nearly making contact with the Mercedes of Andy, but there's the Aston Martin tangled with Flip there, the Haas driver. Or Babish, it was certainly one of the two, but that was not good news for Tabran, so he's probably out of the winning column for the time being, unless if something dramatic really does happen. But at the moment, Danger David is your leader at this stage of the race.
Spins!
Spin!
Flip it!
Has had a spin, and he spun again and lost his front wing. He is dropping positions like a stone to water, and that is bad news for the Haas outfit there. One of the joy viewers wanted a win with the Haas, but now David all the way to the inside defending line. Can Moksha find a way through? No, he can't. Nor could Andy. Has Andy going to end 6 wins in a row? And that's going to be it for him. There's only one more corner to find out. We approach Parabolica, and David still is in the lead of the race. Hogs that inside of Parabolica, and on the exit, 0.3 of a second. I don't see that being beaten. Scotland forever in Italy, and that is a win for Danger David. Moksha in second place, back on the podium after 3 races absent. Andy Andre third. Tabran in 4th, Fallow Son 5th at the end of all of that. Pleasant Snake 6th, Bavish in 7th, Darrell in 8th, Russ Nassiri 9th at the end of all of that. So great 8 places from him. 10th is Kovachka, so did finish inside the top 10 in the end. Charlie Boy John 11th, Tarkangino 12th, 13th is UG. As Kwan gets 14th, Toby in 15th, energetic outside the points altogether. Didn't quite see all of that there, but Flip at least, well, had 17th place there after being inside the top 10. As driver of the day goes to Valentine, and you know, I would give it to him. But I don't know. I don't know. Well, Fellow Son did come from last to wherever. Oh, driver of the day. Oh, I don't know. There's a lot of drivers to pick from, but Danger David getting the win over Andy and breaking that 7 in a row streak, 6 in a row even. That's a pretty good driver of the day nominee right there, or even Fellow Son. Me, says Darrell. I don't think so. Did you even finish out inside the top 10, Darrell? But Herman, I'll start with you. Who's your driver of the day?
Yeah, I think I have to give it to Fellerson. There was probably more in it, and he's probably gonna pinch himself a bit that was a missed opportunity. I don't know how that damage came to it, but honestly, even T-Brand is in there. Like, he did such an amazing opposite strategy like Fellerson did, and yeah, if you disregard penalties, obviously he was gonna finish behind him, but there was certainly also a strong drive here in P4 today.
Absolutely. So Tabran, yeah, also another good one as well. It really did well on strategy, but I really don't know who our podium sitters are. I'm actually going to have to go back into the broadcast. It was Danger David, Moksha, and Andy. Actually, that was pretty easy. Okay, so we are expecting in the interview room at any moment. Any moment now. Danger David on the top step of the podium, followed by Moksha, and then, of course, third, DeAndre. So, we'll wait and see when those come in. But, Herman, that was an intense final few laps of the race there. And even then, Andy losing the lead down to third there. His strategy just didn't quite play off there.
I didn't have Andy being twice in third on my bingo card for Monza, I have to say, but honestly glad this happened. There was action down the whole field. There were so many groups that were like 4 or 5 cars fighting even before we had the bunch up of the first safety car, and overall the drivers just delivered. I think when it got really close and obviously the adrenaline is there, then some penalties made some people's result a bit worse, but you have to give it to David. Really, it was such an amazing execution. He was third before the final stages happened, and he just made that win happen because of how he positioned his car and how he picked the fight when it was there. And obviously, Andy overtaking him again before they headed into the final turn is just basically a bit of a statement to still grab that off of him, even though the long straight was still coming up. He just played that perfectly in my mind.
Well, there we go. Now we do have our top 3 in the commentary box, and we will start with our new winner in the season. It is Danger David. Danger David, congratulations on what was an excellent win, well played out throughout the entire race. What were those final few laps like for you?
Yeah, it was good. It was a good race. Optimised the strategy. Once again, didn't qualify too great, so I was hopeful that my setup would come back to me in the race, and it did. Final few laps were quite intense, of course, but it's just about keeping the cool, keeping the heart rate down, and just making the right choices. I was quite surprised that Andy overtook me going into that final lap, but it's quite a difficult one to judge. I would have probably done the same in his shoes as well. It was a good ending. Enjoyed it.
Absolutely, of course. Talking about the ending there, of course, we were trying to. I was trying to ask Herman if Andy wanted to be the hunter or the hunted, but it seems like he wanted to be the hunter, hunted even in this scenario. And for you, what were you thinking about in your head in those final few laps? Would you rather have been hunted, or would you want to be the hunter?
I think, honestly, I wasn't too sure. It was quite a difficult one. I was trying to weigh it up. When Andy overtook me, I think it was going into the 27th lap or going into the 26th lap. I can't really remember. I was able to dump a lot of battery and get a good gap. And yet it paid off. It was quite intense, to be honest with you. I thought Moxley was going to catch back up, but I'm not sure if he ran out of ERS or not. Happy to win.
Absolutely, of course, we were keeping an eye on Moksha as things stood as well. But more importantly for you, did the strategy play out how you would have wanted, or was there something different you would have done looking back on things now?
No, I'm pretty happy with it. I know that I lost quite a bit of time with the hard tyres and that second stint, and that was a bit of a concern, to be honest with you. But the fact that I came from 8th position or 7th position and I made up, I was quite happy even if I got a podium tonight. When Rush got that 10-second penalty initially, I was just confident if I play my own race at this point, I've lost the DRS, stay on the hards, hopefully the mediums drop off and I can catch back up to DRS. I went for the double hard stint as well, so I didn't have a second set of mediums, unfortunately.
Right, well, any further questions, Herman? I'll pass over to you.
No, you just covered my question about tires already. So yeah, congratulations also from my side on your amazing win here tonight.
Thanks,
All right.
mate. Thanks, guys.
David, again, congratulations on your win. Have a very good evening, and thank you for taking time to answer my questions. Anyway, we now move on to Moksha. Moksha, congratulations on what was a well-fought second place. You had a bit of a moment there with your teammate getting a 10-second penalty, and you had to be caught up in that. But then you worked your way up to second place. How were those final few laps for you?
Yeah, they were really intense because I came out in P7 after I served Rush penalty 2. Yeah, but I think it was still the best option because if I stayed out, the safety car, everybody would catch up and then I would have lost more. Yeah, I tried to make my way. Luckily, I came by Babish and some other guys really fast. And yeah, I was really thinking I catch David at the end. Don't know why Andy didn't have the straight line speed and didn't have the DRS to really cover up us both. Yeah, it was lucky in the end because of the safety car. I think without, I would have more chances to get the top step because I think I was fast today. It felt like this. Yeah, but luckily in the end, P2, and I take it every time of the week.
Absolutely. Just kind of on another thing as well. It's been a few races since you were last on the podium. Three out of the first four races, you found yourself on the podium, went through a bit of a dry spell, 2 non-finishes, and then a 7th place last week. But now to be back on the podium, how does it feel after going through all of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think my races weren't that bad. I crashed in Hungary and in Baku, but the pace was there. Yeah, last week it was a penalty which shoved me a bit back. I think I ended up P4, something like that. Yeah, but I'm happy to be there again. Not sure if I can keep this up again, but yeah, it's good points for the season, and I take it.
Thank you. Herman, any further questions for you?
Yeah, obviously, when the penalty came towards Rush, there was like this moment where we in the commentary box discussed about, okay, Rush is going to be serving a penalty in maybe green flag or the safety car conditions. Was there any option in your mind that you thought about how to avoid this, maybe because we were certain you were going to be held up, which you did. You lost a bunch of time if you disregard the second safety car, which we didn't know was coming, obviously. Was there any play in your mind you wanted to try to go through and maybe avoid this serving of the penalty time loss extra to you as well? Because it's 10 for Rush, he does the pit stop, and you still have to wait before you get to be served. Anything on your mind at that stage?
I think my head was smoking how to avoid this, but I think there was no chance. The only chance would be that he stayed out for the team game, but he didn't. So yeah, the best chance was just to follow and wait the 10 seconds. Yeah, as I said before, because if I wait for the safety car and everybody bunch up, I come out last or something like that. So I needed to go.
And certainly played perfectly at the end there. So congratulations again on your second as well from my side, and that's my question there.
All right.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Moksha, no further questions from myself either. Again, congratulations on second. Have a very good evening, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, same for you.
Bye-bye for now. Well, last but most definitely not least, as I always say, congratulations for third place to Andy here. May not have been what you quite wanted, considering how things were playing out on your end, but you didn't finish on the podium last time, well, yesterday in Division 1. Division 2, you were looking like you were going to take the win, but it just looks like your aggressiveness just didn't quite pay off in the end. Can you just tell me what happened in those last few laps? Still don't have anything from Andy as of right now. He's currently still on mute. And there we go.
Oh, here I am.
All right, did you hear my question?
Yes, sure. Okay, so considering I was about the third or fourth fastest car today, I'm pretty good with P3 in the end. But yeah, considering those final laps, I can't help to be a bit disappointed. I didn't play that out pretty good. Yeah, a bit of poor strategy, poor positioning. I was trying to avoid being first before the DRS zone, and with the two cars behind very close, and that's exactly how it ended up. I just really couldn't make up my mind just to slow down abruptly, or just go flat out, and yeah, just settled in the middle, and it was probably the worst possible decision. And yeah, and at the end, I did try to go for an aggressive overtake in the final sector on the mini straight, but yeah, I got a very good exit out of turn 7, but just didn't have the straight line speed to do it. In hindsight, I probably should have backed off and tried on the last straight, but yeah, it is what it is. And considering my performances at this track, I'm happy with third.
Of course, that sadly means your winning streak has been brought to an end at 6, but your podium streak will continue on in Division 2 at 7 in a row. Obviously a week break coming up, but then we will be back underway. Can't remember where off the top of my head. I'll have to just take a minute. Australia, thank you very much. Obviously back to Australia. Do you think you could be back on the winning step there?
Probably not. Last season I missed the Australia race. I was on holiday, so really it's been very long since I've raced on that track. So it probably won't be my best. But a few races further up in the season are definitely looking better for me, and I'm hoping I can get another win or two in the later stages.
And in terms of the championship, do you feel like that's more or less secured now, or are you just kind of taking it one race at a time?
I think it's probably secured. I'm not expecting to be fastest anywhere, but the lead I have so far is pretty big. And if I just manage to bring the car safely home consistently, it will probably be enough. Even if I'll be about third or fourth fastest as I was today. So yeah, I think that's probably in the bag, but still. Having other drivers so competitive, it's a good thing. It's a good thing for myself. It makes me want to come back. It makes me want to practice, and yeah, I'm at a good point right now in the game.
Herman, any further questions from yourself?
No, to be honest, that was quite well executed by you, and just a bit unlucky there at the end. I think the timing of the last two overtaking attempts you made were quite right. So I think at the end, just a bit of type luck, and obviously when you have to fight through two cars, that's going to be hard on the final lap. So I think I just can say congrats on P3 and keeping that streak on the podium up as well.
Yep, thank you. See you on the next one.
All right. Again,
Yeah.
congratulations on third at the very least, and we'll see you next week, Andy.
Yep, thank you guys. Thank
oh, no,
you.
sorry,
See you
week
next
after. It's a week breaks. All
Oh,
right.
yeah.
See you in 2 weeks'
All
time
right.
then. See you.
See you in 2 weeks. See you.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, well, Herman, that is all they wrote for Monza. Absolutely fantastic race. Another classic from there. Herman, any final words before I go and sign off?
Yeah, before we headed into race, I couldn't imagine us not predicting the winner, but here we are. Russian Annie not coming through there, and David took it. So I'm honestly glad that we had such an amazing race. It was super chaotic yesterday with rain. Today, even in a dry, it delivered completely. And yeah, one or two safety cars, as we've seen, can mix up the field, especially with the mandatory two-stop. And I'm just glad to got this beautiful race covered here today with you, and take a nice break, and see you next in 2 weeks for Australia, and looking forward to the second half of the season.
Absolutely. And one last thing, Herman. Hasn't been boring, has it, despite the Andy domination?
Yeah, that is certainly true there, David. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, Herman, enjoy your break as well, and I'll see you in 2 weeks' time.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye for now. And guys, well, as Herman said, that is going to be it from us. So, a 2-week break coming up. We will be back with you on the 17th to 18th of March for Division 1 and Division 2 in this mandatory 2-stop season. We will be joining you again in Melbourne for another 4-week stint before another 1-week break. So we will be off to China, Bahrain, and Suzuka. For, of course, Suzuka will host our third out of 4 full qualifying sessions. And then after our last week's break, it will be Saudi Arabia, Netherlands, USA, and in Miami to be specific, and then a full qualifying session and our last one in Silverstone. But as far as things are concerned around here, from ourselves in the commentary box and from the admins and stewards of SSRL, it has been an absolute pleasure to bring you today's race, and what action it brought. Andy's winning streak brought to an end, and Danger David taking Scotland to the checkered flag. But anyway, from ourselves at SSRL, we wish you a very good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. Stay safe, stay alive. See you in 2 weeks' time in Melbourne. But until then, bye-bye.